Welcome back to the Gut Reaction Podcast, episode 6. Today we have a guest, Paul Rahn. He's the owner and operator of Paraperformance Co. With 7 gyms and more to come. He's a very successful business person in the fitness industry. So whether you're an entrepreneur just wanting to get started in business or specifically wanting to start a business within the fitness industry, please give this entire episode a listen because there are some amazing insights and key takeaways that you can apply to your own business. What's up, Paul? Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Noah.
I'm excited for this episode because this is a huge aspect of fitness that I don't think a lot of people talk about, or I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, but is like the business side of the fitness industry. So why don't you just, for everybody that's listening that doesn't know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, totally agree with you. Thank you so much for having me on here. My name is Paul Rahn. I own and operate pretty much boutique fitness studios. I've been rocking this for kind of feels like forever, but own and operating for close to 14 years. I've been in the industry for almost 16, and love everything that I do within fitness. Just got married, have 2 dogs, currently living in LA, have a love-hate relationship that we can talk about later with it, but really fortunate to have businesses in Illinois, studio here in Los Angeles, expanding on the West Coast, some more, and really fortunate to have been in this industry for so long, and getting to meet people like yourself. And yeah, just wouldn't call myself a fitness enthusiast. I'm more of like business enthusiast. I definitely can still work on my fitness game. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. So since just quoting yourself, aren't a fitness enthusiast, how did you find yourself running, a quote unquote, little bit of a fitness empire?
Yeah. To be honest with you, when I was going through my MBA, I was definitely destined, in my mind to own something. I kind of thought it was always going to be I thought it was going to be consulting. To be honest with you, I was really back then, in 2007, 2008, really into the idea of green businesses and sustainability, and how small businesses can operate sustainably, green, and change their models around to kind of fit that application. And thought I was going to do business consulting. Come to find out that small businesses can't really pay a lot of money to consultants to figure out how to go green. At least back then, right? On a small scale. So how I jumped in, I varied the stories really easily. I went into a gym, and I was in a class. I was in a 4:30 p.m. class in downtown Chicago at this gym. And I kid you not, it was the tiniest space, but it had probably, I think I counted like 43 people in that class. And I looked around, I saw the equipment, I saw the one instructor, saw all these people, and my monthly membership at that gym in whatever year it was like $200 a month, and all I could see was dollar signs of all these people, and definitely had a big ego at that time, and thought to myself, oh my gosh, I could do this. I could probably do it better, and I could probably even charge more money, right? So that was how it started. I was like, I think I can totally do this. And that night, joined the membership at this gym, a couple months in, I just kept thinking to myself, like, actually, I can do this better, and not dogging that gym at all. But I said, like, I can definitely do this. So that started the trajectory towards.
And you bought that gym, right?
I bought the one after that.
The one after that. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What, I guess, was that the first one that you purchased, was that for sale, or was it something that you became a member there at a later point and just loved the business model even more?
Yeah. Technically, I started in a consulting role there.
Okay.
And was kind of a member, but went into the consulting role because they were definitely having some major challenges with many aspects of the business. And that consulting lasted less than 3 months, before it was just a natural flow into ownership and buying into it, and then eventually buying them out completely 3 months later. So within 6 months of starting consulting there, I was full owner, rock and roll. And again, it was just like a natural
Wow.
trajectory of kind of how that went.
And I want to like first I want us to cover like where you currently are. So how many gyms are you currently the owner of and running?
Total of seven. Total of
Seven.
seven.
Okay.
Yep.
So now I'm curious, like from gym one to gym seven, what was the progression? Like where was it then and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. Sheer craziness. It's honestly so much trial and error, so much research within that. Looking at data and analytics, watching trends. It was so easy, like from one to two, to think that, in terms of thinking that I could just take one, multiply it, open it up, a few miles away, do another one. But yeah, as we've spoken privately, it was a major challenge. And when I say trial and error, within this journey, there has been closed one because I learned a very valuable lesson. And how far away it has to be from other location and all these other details. So it's definitely been trial and error. I haven't had anybody, standing over me saying, do this, do that. There's so many brands, there's so many gyms out there, both corporate and small business stuff that have also you see expand, go franchise routes, go what have you. For me, it's really been being kind of like my what works in the business side, but also like what I'm comfortable with myself. And
Hmm.
it's really easy to get in there and see one that's maybe super successful and be like, oh, I'm going to do this again. Two, three, that might not be as successful, right? Or for me, what happened was I realized that just in terms of like success for me really wasn't like the dollars actually that I was making. It was more of like my balance, my time, my freedom,
Hmm.
where I was able to spend my time, and then the quality of relationships that I have with my trainers, with clients that come in. Because going from one to seven, going from Illinois to Los Angeles, I didn't necessarily want to lose all of those relationships or fray them. I wanted to be able to continue to grow them. So it's been a journey, that's for sure. I'm still on it. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But that's been a big key is like staying open-minded, staying real with everyone that's involved, is like what I'm doing, what my aspirations are, but also being able to take and have the time to connect with people and still keep the relationship strong, both from a staffing and client standpoint.
I think I mean, I'm sure many people that classes are all the rage, and then people that can't afford one-on-one trainer or even that pay for like an online coach of some in some capacity that like
Hmm.
that connection, those relationships that you build with those people. And as a coach, as a business owner in the health and fitness industry or any business, those relationships that you build and foster are so
Hmm.
important for success. And I think knowing that you started as a consultant with your first acquisition, I'm curious, like, how many of the gyms you currently own were acquisitions, and how many of them did you start from ground zero?
Hmm.
Because I'd imagine that from the get go, like as a consultant going in as it and acquiring the business, it's almost more important to build and foster those relationships, taking over a business and working with an
Hmm.
already established clientele, staff of trainers, than like searching out and building your own staff.
Yeah. There's only one acquisition.
Oh,
Everything else
badass.
has been yes. Um, and talk about like the lessons in the journey is the acquisition was definitely, and actually I was pretty fortunate, and I can't believe that I was so young and I recognized this at that time, is that there was no better time to buy that business than when I did, because
Mm.
the membership base was actually quite small at the time. The concept was a little bit all over the place. You had this like part of it was like CrossFit, but then it was like HIT, and then it was something else. It was actually, it was quite a mess, to be honest with you. From a standpoint, it's quite a mess. So acquiring that, I remember when I was going through the legal work for that acquisition, and it took about 30 days. So knowing what was coming in 30 days, I actually spent the majority of that time. By the time that we signed the paperwork and it was done, that very same day, and I stayed up until midnight that night. And I was the person that clicked the button to wipe off the old website in the name of that business and completely and launched the new website so that the next day when everybody went in, they had an email blast of the new business, new ownership, new name, new sign up, new account. Hindsight, like it was actually really easy because that was like I got to kind of wipe everything off and start
Yeah.
fresh. And that's how that's how I've moved from business to business over the years is watching, kind of having a little bit of a blueprint that I've fine tuned over and over and over again, all the way up until this last studio here in Los Angeles that I've been able to build the model, adjust the model as needed.
How many members stayed with you during that acquisition? Like, was it a bit of an awkward phase, or was it pretty easy?
It was actually it was really easy. And the one thing that I contribute that to, and we'll talk about this more later, is the relationship that I built. Is something that, we've seen kind of the trends in fitness from 2010, 11, all the way up through 2018, the pandemic, into today. Um, Back then, 10 years ago, actually longer than that, 14 years ago, um, the relationship building aspect of getting clients, retaining the clients was number one. And I think when I took over, we had somewhere around like 30 monthly members. We had a bunch of people dropping in. ClassPass wasn't a thing back then. So um, you didn't have these other booking platforms outside. And all of them stayed. And actually, the really awesome part is within 3 months of taking over, new name, fine tuning the concept, and actually telling people what the concept is, like what you're getting, right? And the marketing showing, hey, this is what the classes that you're getting, blah, blah, blah. We had grown to over 100 monthly auto renew members at the time.
Wow, the
You know,
dream.
the dream. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and it was really quick, and it was I still can't believe we didn't do any paid marketing back then. Social media, like Instagram, you weren't posting anything about this. It was literally people coming, and I'll never forget, like Saturdays, I would hold classes at like 8, 9, and 10. And when I took over, I was like the number one trainer. There's like two of us working at the time.
Hmm.
So I would teach 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And I'll never forget, like, it was at a point in time where people were bringing their boyfriends and girlfriends or their couple friends at a time, right? And spacing became an issue on some classes, right? Of getting people in there. And talk about a nightmare, and a really good nightmare. I remember I had classes of like 53 people.
Damn.
And,
Just with you training or
yeah,
two
with
trainers?
just
Wow,
one
that's
trainer.
wild.
And to think about
I
it,
feel like I would just crumble in the floor with
yeah,
exhaustion after that.
yeah. But you're sitting there and it's your business and you're
Yeah.
on a high. You're so high because all of this energy is coming in. And this is exactly what you dreamt of, right? So, absolutely, completely exhausted. To think about doing a class of 50 people with one trainer today gives me the utmost anxiety that I can possibly think of. But, again, back then,
Yeah.
that was really cool, to be a part of. But it was all word of mouth, relationship building, trying to get you in and remember your name the next time you come in.
As a like one-on-one personal trainer, building trust and loyalty with your clients is extremely important. And I've always been in the impression, like, regardless of if I started, like, when I started a box gym or I started as an employee at a boutique gym, I always was under the impression that, whether a client comes to the gym because of the brand, generally they will build more loyalty and trust to the individual trainer. So if the trainer were to leave, most likely the client would go with them. So I'm
Yeah.
really curious, especially because I think from my understanding, a lot of your gyms are more of a class-based structure with some one-on-one trainers. How is it different building loyalty with a class-based business model? And then also you do employ some trainers. How do you go about building loyalty with those clients? So, I mean, I've always been under the impression that a business should not rely on, like a business success should not rely on one individual. So I know like a lot of owners of gyms kind of freak out sometimes when their top trainer decides to go out on their own and takes a lot of their clientele, which is, great for them. But how do you continue to build loyalty with those clients? And then I'm really curious, like as a business owner, and you do have that happen, how do
Yeah.
you roll with the punch and then just, continue going forward and
Yeah.
continue building that loyalty and
The
bringing in new customers?
crazy awesome question, and something that I'm sure a lot of that I remember when I first started out, that that actually kept me up at night. That those points right there, and it was specifically loyalty within, your trainers. And what if one trainer is pumping out these classes, and they're constantly capping classes out, right? What if they leave? What if another gym offers them more money? What if they want to open up their own gym? Because in full, and I'm very, very honest and open about this, the first studio that I started with, so many lessons learned. And one of the very first ones is I can't run a gym solely based off of one person.
Yeah.
I don't have top head coaches. I don't have there's no titles like that. I never refer to people and trainers and stuff like that as like, oh, I got, top trainer Noah here. Nothing like that. Everyone is on a very even playing ground when it comes to those things. And we're also one thing that I did right off the bat was do all programming for all classes across the board. So if you go to my class or you go to Noah's class, whoever, the programming standard is consistent no matter whose class you go to. And we're also open about that as well. And it's not something we don't market that,
Mhm.
but just because of the consistency in the programming from day to day, it doesn't it hasn't really mattered that much exactly like what trainers in what spot. Okay.
Or what class you
And
go to at what time.
correct.
Yeah.
And that's actually always helped. But in terms of like um, loyalty and with clients and within my staff, again, lessons learned very quickly. Is it comes to like group fitness classes, let's just be really honest. It's really hard for trainers to make a living off of coaching group fitness classes. That's just, that's a fact now. It was 14 years ago and it is today. And, even if that trainer is pumping out 20 or 30 classes a week, that's also not sustainable.
Yeah.
So that's just the fact that we know now. So in my model and with my staff, I have been I'm very clear with them. So when they start, they're very, very part-time. It's more of a hobby. Okay. It's more of a hobby that it's definitely not going to be their full-time gig and their bread and butter. It's some side hustle cash.
Mm.
And I don't let trainers typically coach more than 4, 6 classes a week. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Because I've watched for years and years and years trainers that take on way too many classes, that it is a fast track to burnout. Your quality absolutely declines so fast because it's not joyful. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
And especially in my model where they're not doing their own programming, for them, you show up, you pump the music, you work on form. And because they don't do the programming though, they now have some time that they can now utilize to individually connect with people and create a
Mm.
relationship with people in the classes and work on their form and get to know every single client. And then they're getting paid for it. They're not getting paid top dollar. They're very clear about their payroll, about their labor and what they're getting. And that's one of the top reasons of sustainability for me all these years is that kind of a model there.
What
And
are your methods? Or I'm sorry, continue.
okay,
I was just
I
gonna
mean,
wonder. I was
no,
wondering
God,
what your methods are for like hiring and acquiring people, because if the important part was what I'm hearing is the people that you bring in.
yeah.
So, what is your method on hiring trainers to carry on and maintain the Para brand? And then
Mhm.
what does the training look like to continue to make sure they uphold that brand?
Yeah. Um, so usually, so at the beginning, when I first started, it was kind of anyone and everyone, to be
Mm,
honest with you. Because when it was just me, right, it was as young, I had a lot of energy, so it felt fine at the time. Today, like there's no way I can do, um, classes every day, clients every day, what have you. So, at the beginning, it was kind of anyone, everyone. All these years later, what I've learned is so um, totally laughing at me for saying this, but your vibe attracts your tribe, right?
yeah, I
So
love that.
take for example, here in LA, I don't run any ads. I no longer use things like LinkedIn or job ad places. Um, whatsoever. It's literally word of mouth. It's someone coming in. Actually, the almost the same exact way that you found us. You
Mm,
come in, you want to check the space out, and I literally say to you, come take some classes, feel the vibe here, feel the energy. If it's something you're into, then let's chat. It either goes one of two ways. Either you're a trainer, you've already been rocking group fitness classes, you're kind of, ready to go. We go through a really short training process of shadowing, of talking about our programming, our structure, the big ticket items that I'm focused on. And with our clientele, for me, number one is safety, especially in a group fitness class, because anybody gets hurt in your gym, that's the only thing that they're going to take from your gym forever.
yeah.
And they're going to actually tell a bunch of people, regardless of whether it's your fault or not. Talk about safety, and then we talk about the relationship building aspect of it and how important it is. And I drill this into everybody's head, which is why when you come to any one of my gyms, you're more likely to stand there before, during, and after a class or a group session and talk like you're talking to a best friend
Mm,
and share life stories, talk about things, that you might not normally talk about in a gym setting. And that's us building a relationship with you so that we get to know you. You come in our classes and we, how many times do you go into like other gyms and do a group fitness class and we get to know you so well that we can modify any workouts for you. We can come up to you and say, hey, Noah, you've been working here for 2 months. I've seen you progress. Now you're doing full pull-ups on the smallest pull-up resistance band. Today is the day that you're actually going to do a pull-up without it. And we could stand there and we work with you one-on-one, even in a class setting, and celebrate that kind of, win.
yeah.
So things like that. And the one thing with like staffing that's I just had this conversation the other day is when with trainers are coming into the gym, the number one thing, so many trainers are looking for a job. They want a paycheck, right? And they want to know what they have to do to get that paycheck. And as a business owner, lessons in this industry has taught me how important it is to be insanely clear when people are coming in saying, hey, you've got a job, you're getting paid X amount of dollars for this class, you're getting X amount of classes per week, and that's not going to change at all. You're at a max of 4 to 6 classes. So this has to be something that you want, and that you
Mm,
want to be a part of, right? So I'll tell you, like I said, I don't have any full-time employees. Everyone's very part-time, and it's very much of a joy thing versus really, of course there are people are in there making money, right?
Yeah.
But it's more of a joyful kind of hobby kind of thing, community-esque than it is having someone in there, work training 30 classes a week, with terrible quality, hating their life, so on and so forth. So that's our setup for staff. And again, over the years, it's definitely built a level of loyalty that, I was just thinking about this earlier today before this conversation. I've got staff that's gone on 10 years, which
Wow.
blows my mind, blows my mind. That have still maybe coached 2, 3, 4 classes a week. And that's
That's
it.
amazing. That's
It is so
amazing
cool.
retention.
Yeah, so cool.
That's wild. I mean, you don't even hear about people staying in like the corporate world at one company for
Yeah,
more than like 3 years
right.
anymore.
No,
Wow, that's awesome.
I agree.
I think that's a testament. So I rent as a one-on-one PT. I rent space from Para in Silver Lake, Los Angeles, and I am witness to many classes that I see Paul himself or many of his other trainers run, and I can firsthand witness, am blown away by the relationships that Paul himself and each of his trainers build with every single person that comes through those doors, remembers their names, remembers their capabilities, what they're able to do, their injuries, stories. I mean, it is so much information and names and people to keep track of, and I'm infinitely impressed. And I think I just want to say, like, it's very
Yeah,
impressive the building or the business that you've been able to build and the people you've brought in and the people you've trained. It's very inspirational.
thank you. Yeah.
I think that, I would love to, if you feel comfortable sharing, hearing more about like the financial side of the fitness business, because, I think from the outside, people, from my experience, I've noticed that people like either have the money for a one-on-one personal trainer, which is a huge investment, like
Hmm.
it's a lot of money, or they just want classes. So they either see like, top dollar boutique experience or, like a lower ticket class, especially with
100%.
ClassPass now, but they don't really ever have like an idea of what's actually going on behind those doors. And one, like why prices are so expensive or why, um, certain things are the way they are. I always tell people from a one-on-one personal trainer expensive is like my hourly rate. You're not paying just for my hour. You're paying for the
Hmm.
years of research and experience that I have. So I'm curious, like
Yeah.
basic level, like what does it kind of look like to keep a gym doors open? What numbers are you trying to hit? Amount of classes run, amount of like trainers renting space from you.
Hmm.
I'm really curious about like the almost the P&L.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's just like anything anymore. Like why do we pay so much money in healthcare costs to go to the doctor? I mean, that's a whole other topic, but we are professionals in what we do. Many of us have actually gone to, I'm not going to say many of us, many of you and many trainers have actually gone to school, um, and done extensive schooling, 4-year degrees. The amount of certifications that are out there for trainers in every single like niche, there's so many things that you can do from standard group fitness stuff to PT stuff to equipment training, right? Equipment
Yeah.
certifications on things like TRX. And it just keeps going. It just keeps going to, all the way to recovery therapies to, that's so amazing that's out there. And for anybody wondering, pricing of everything is the cost for trainers to get certified, and just your basic certification is over $1,000. Basic certification that a gym would hire a trainer
Yeah.
to coach a class, right? Or for PT is over $1,000. And actually I think it's up to $1,500 after like the most basic one. But and then it's just most basic. If you want to add everything else, right, your costs go up. But when it comes to like a gym and your class costs or your PT costs, there is a huge divide. And in the 10 plus years, 15 years almost of doing this, I'm not gonna when I was in college, I paid a retired firefighter who had who was a certified personal trainer, had his ACE certification. I paid him $30 for 45-minute sessions. And I would go to
Wow.
him 3 days a week, $30 for 45-minute sessions. And I got to tell you, the gym that I went to was actually crazy cool. It was in an office building, and they had 4 private sections. It was one room, but they blocked it off, and you were literally had your own private studio
That's
with
cool.
this trainer. That if that was my gym today, 2024, I would charge you probably $250 to $300 for that
Yeah. I
easily.
mean, $30, that's crazy.
$30 is what I paid. And right now, I would say like the average rate of anybody that I ask, that people are always say 150 an hour for PT. And classes, you can certainly, I've seen ranges from 15 all the way up to, I paid $48 for a cycling class just a few years ago that I'll never do again, but I've paid
What
them.
did $48 of cycling get you? Was it just like the vibes were
Yeah.
supposed to be immaculate, but just weren't?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what was supposed to happen because the entire class, I was focused on the fact that I paid $48 for
That's fair.
for this, right?
That's crazy. It
So
was the
that was
Erewhon of cycle classes.
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But so you have those extremes, and and that's exactly what you're seeing now in clientele. You've got 2 extremes here. You've got one that I've got clients that don't bat an eye at paying $165, per hour. In fact, I just got a couple weeks ago that wanted to train us a couple, and full disclosure, I shot them the rate, and it was a little bit of a discount off of a double price of personal training. And again, no problem. Swipe the card, boom, done. We're talking thousands of dollars. And then on the flip side, you do have people that can barely afford. They actually can't afford like a 10-pack of classes that costs you about $30 a class. So they're doing just like a drop in whenever they can, right? Um, so from a gym's financial perspective, what I have found over the years is a combination of, kind of your high end personal training clients that typically can afford it. They don't bat an eye at it, and they keep coming back. And all of a sudden, that's where you're now, you start training them for years. Like they're a client for years. Okay. They built some loyalty. Having a handful of classes throughout the day that you can essentially find in the right time slots that you're capping out that are $30 a head or whatever your class price is. As well as having trainers, rent space from you throughout the day, pulling as many trainers as you possibly can get, in off the street to make your gym their home. And then, because of the nature of my studios, I can also offer like kind of private open gym stuff where throughout the day at certain time slots, people again coming in paying for a membership or a drop-in fee to just come in and work out on their own. We've also pulled in there again because of the huge part because of the pandemic, but I luckily jumped on board of online training long before the pandemic. And so had a whole online training model that I was able to pull in and offer as like custom programming for people, both in the gym and online. So it's a combination of several revenue streams, right? And that even goes all the way into, I was looking at some retail numbers, and retail in gyms range from apparel to supplements to waters. And to be honest with you, that's some dollars that the gyms are pulling in, right? And to properly manage those combination of revenue sources, solely so that the fact that you're not focused only on classes, only on personal training, because you will see, let's take the economy, right? It's a hot topic right now in 2024. You will see flows in the economy, right? You'll see the economy dip, and all of a sudden, even some people that thought personal training was affordable, maybe it's not anymore. Maybe they're not buying a 50-pack of training for $7,000, $8,000, right?
Yeah.
So at that time, maybe you get to add some more classes, and pump your, lower price stuff up. So that's been a learning for me also, because my very first gym was all hit. It was all hit classes. So the trajectory and the trends over the years, me personally, I will never again have a gym that only has one concept or one revenue line, to be honest with you,
That
at
no,
all.
that makes a lot of sense. That makes
Mhm.
what is the I want to get into fitness trends next that you've noticed over the last 10 years that you've had, or 14 years, I think you said that you've owned
Yeah, 14.
gyms. What though is the largest unexpected expense of running a gym that people wouldn't like? Obviously, the space is probably the most expensive part, and insurance to some degree.
Yeah,
But after that, like the most unexpected that people wouldn't expect, like wouldn't think
yeah.
of.
Well, when I first got in, and I'm still shocked at it today, is the cost of insurance. It still
Yes.
blows my mind, the cost of insurance. That gyms or small businesses need to carry just in general. And what happens now is your commercial lease dictates the insurance that you're required to carry. And there's really not there's no way around it. There's no easy way around. Actually, there's not a way around it at all. And so that's shock number one. Shock number two is your per square foot pricing, and where it's gone, in these years. My first gym
Yeah.
cost me $500 a month in rent.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome. What
Today,
is the rent now
18 grand.
for the same location? 500 to 18
Oh,
grand.
sorry. No, no, that's the for that gym. Actually, that gym's moved. And
Okay.
it's about what is it, 15, or I think it's $1,800 a month. So $1,800 per month. Um, the 18 grand is the highest amount of rent that we pay.
That's crazy.
For Yeah. But so that's shock. That's probably shock number one, or to be honest with you, is your commercial leasing pricing. And again,
Yes.
that's a really big challenge. When it comes into, we talk about this all the time, like in businesses. Of course, all of us, when we want to open gyms, we think, oh my God, it's a huge space, and we want to have lobbies and locker rooms and all this sort of stuff, right? Every single thing you want increases your square foot, increases your rent, and the number you got to ask yourself, how are you going to pay for that? Not only how
Yes.
are you going to pay for that, but also how are you going to pay yourself for all the work that you're doing? And it's really easy as a owner of any business, but for us to think, oh, hey, like, you know, we'll get there, we'll get there after years, we'll get there. But your rent is actually only ever going to go up. Your
Yeah.
rent will never go down. So the only thing that you can do is you have to build your sales to pay that rent and then pay yourself, pay your labor. And we did see a little bit of dip in rental prices around the pandemic and a little bit after,
Mm.
but it didn't offset the last 10, 15 years that I've been in this industry watching this stuff. So it's going up. It's never going to go back down. When you sign a commercial lease for, let's say, 5 grand a month, that's the cheapest you're ever going to get that space.
Mm.
So you want another 5 years after that, you want to last 15 years. Look again at your space, look at your model, and ask yourself, in 15 years, am I going to be able to pay, uh, 3.5% increases every year, because 3.5% increases the standard.
Okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the per square footage. I mean, you and I have talked about a little bit about me thinking about opening my own place, and the conversations we've had about the square footage prices, especially here in Los Angeles, is
Yeah.
uh, it's atrocious.
It is, and that's the other thing you have to really think about when we're talking about like spacing and trainers and opening up your gym is we're hitting a point in 2024 where trainers are coming in. Do you have the assets, the cash in
Mm.
the bank to be able to back up a commercial lease? When you're leasing commercial, there's not a landlord on the planet that is not going to want to see your taxes, your bank accounts, and they want to know that the full price, the full cost of the lease that you sign is already paid for. because
Wow.
that's what they're going to look for. So do you have the assets and the cash to back up the commercial lease? And let's say you do. Let's say that's all in the bank. But then now you got to buy equipment, right?
Yeah.
Now you have to front the overhead for all that stuff. Some people are like, okay, well, I might need a loan for that. Let's say it only costs you 50 grand to open up your gym, but you need a loan for that. Again, going into a bank today to get a business loan is really challenging. It's because again, the bank needs collateral. The bank needs assets. So can you put your car up as collateral? Can you put, do you have a house? All those sort of things, right? So it's a challenge. I don't mean this to to bring anybody down. But
No,
it's
it's important things to think about.
yeah, it's a reality check, right?
Yeah.
And something to really think about. Definitely don't want to hinder anybody from their ambitions, but start a plan, right? And then thinking of those items, how are you going to make that work?
Yeah, I think we're all big dreamers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I never knew anything about I mean, I went to business school and I don't know if I learned as much as I have just like running my own business. I mean, real world experience is the best way to learn, but even growing up, I don't think I learned much about finance or any of this stuff beyond me just now
Yeah.
as an adult seeking out that education and knowledge. I'm really curious. Having started 14 years ago, which, the trajectory of fitness really started, popularizing fitness has started in the like 70s with bodybuilding and Arnold and Lou Ferrigno and Mr. Olympia, and to what it is today. I think when you bought your first gym in the 2010s, CrossFit was probably at
Mhm.
like on its way to being the biggest new trend.
Mhm.
Obviously CrossFit is not that anymore, and even in the nutrition side of things, we see things from Atkins to keto to paleo and carnivore and vegetarian and low carb, high fat, high protein, low pro. There's so many different things, and sometimes they're just recycled as different as like the same concept, just
Mhm.
different new name. From your CrossFit hit days to where you are now, what has been the evolution of trends that you've noticed in the fitness industry? And when you and I have talked, there are different trends. It's obvious when we say it, but in different parts of the country and different parts of the
Mhm.
world, from your gyms in the Midwest to your gym here and the new one you're opening in San Diego, what are the trends that you are, really focused on, and
Yeah.
what trends are you seeing maintain and grow and change across the nation?
Yeah, that's really valid question. And again, having the benefit of now, seeing stuff kind of in the Midwest, seeing stuff on the West Coast. I always knew in the Midwest, actually, I always knew things with fitness flowed from west to east. I would always hear of gyms or concepts that was starting on the West Coast. Every once in a while, you'd hear a New York one, but really, the stuff coming out of the West Coast was in the Midwest. We were like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of what's going on here. Like I heard like scream therapy where you're in a room and it was called fitness and you would like scream, right? But yeah, so definitely we kind of came on. I have a CrossFit gym back in Illinois, family owned CrossFit gym, and when we opened it, it was, I would say, I think right before the big bubble of it. And that was a rage for a minute, and that kind of led into that full hit trend, right? And
Mhm.
then admittedly, we completely overdid it. I'll never forget these hit gyms that I had where people were coming 6 days a week for hit
Oof,
classes.
it's a lot.
6 days a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and there was, I can think of two people that were hitting 7 days a week. And I had people, this is insane to me. I had people coming at the 6 a.m. class. They'd come back for the 5 or 6 p.m. class and do 2 a days, right?
Wow.
And it was in that, no one said a word of like,
I mean, that's got
yo,
to your point about like not wanting clients to get injured, like that's got to
yeah,
raise some real concerns for you as a
oh
business
man,
owner.
huge. And it was so fast at the time. I didn't realize, I felt I probably could have caught on to it faster, but within months, all of a sudden you saw your client, longevity and their retention start to go down, right? You
Yeah.
started seeing the injuries. You started seeing the sheer fatigue in 30 days. And actually, we're gyms. We want our clients to get results, right? Clients are coming in 6 days a week. Their bodies actually aren't changing. They weren't changing. We weren't getting these like crazy awesome before and after photos, right? So that led me on to this whole journey where we're at today, of when you talk about concepts and trends. We've seen over the years all these different things spike. You've seen like yoga had its a day 10 years ago where it was like crazy. Everybody,
Yeah.
yoga studios all over the place. Cycling, right? You had, what was it, the soul cycles and the flywheels and all these things pop up. Pilates had its moment several years ago, and then boxing became a big thing. You had your boxing only gyms open up, and then you had all these immersions of these concepts where it was like rowing and boxing together in a class, and then it was boxing and running, and so you had these immersions kind of come in. But really, at the end of the day, um, one thing again that I learned many years ago, was, you talk about bodybuilding in the 70s. Here we are in 2024. Guess what? Bodybuilding is still a thing. There's
Yeah.
still bodybuilding. Do you remember, the jazzercise aerobic classes?
Mm-hmm.
Blows my mind. Back in my hometown is a jazzercise. It is packed.
Really?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. You drive by and the parking lot is full. I'm talking 40 cars, right?
Wow.
Packed.
I'm sure in some places Zumba is still a big thing
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
remember
that's
I remember the Zumba craze.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, like I said, yoga 10 years ago, everyone was all like, yeah, I can't even know the terms, but you'd lay there on the floor, shavasana maybe, where you're like
Mm.
laying there, right? And that's all anybody talked about. It's like, oh, you gotta go here, you gotta meditate and do this. And then kind of everyone stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
You had a bunch of people go to these cycle classes. People stopped talking about it. Um, but the thing is that everything has their moment, okay? But then it all settles back down. Everyone comes back down to reality, and they realize that fitness is not a one size fit all
Mm.
for every single individual, actually, for none of us. And that, it's okay to maybe go to a HIIT class. It's okay to go to a boxing class. It's okay to, you know, if you need to go take a yoga class on YouTube today. So the trends, actually, what you're kind of seeing, and I see this now every day, is that the trends is that kind of maybe anything goes, but specifically for individuals, like there's not a one size fit all thing. And I actually really appreciate that. So that's why, like in what we've done all these years, really what we've offered is some form of strength training. We've transitioned kind of out of full-time HIIT. We might still offer a HIIT style class once a week. But everything for us over these years has been literally a flat line of strength training. And that's what we're really good at. Okay. We've tried adding, a yoga teacher and yoga class. We've tried, adding in random concepts. But really, at the end of the day, for us, what we're really good at is gym aesthetics and strength training. And that's what we offer. That's what we stick to.
Strength training is always going to be important.
It's always going to be around. May
Quality
not
of
be the most
life.
might not be the most popular thing in 5 years, but guess what? There's enough. Uh, wherever you open a gym, we're in LA right now, Chicago, any of these big cities, even these small cities. I've got gyms in 10,000 person city. There's
Mhm.
enough people that are constantly going in fitness circles, okay, that they're going to come back around to seeing strength training is a thing that they need. So they're always going to be there. It's just a matter of how do you get them in.
Mm.
But yeah,
I
from the
love that.
trends,
Your
definitely
vibe
from the
attracts the tribe.
yeah, oh yeah, that's the thing. And consistency over the years. And again, if you're, doing the thing that you're really good at, I've met people out here. I can think of this one woman who now owns her own Pilates studio. She's freaking amazing at her application of Pilates and the relationship you build with her around Pilates, right? She could do that forever. She could do that forever because she's really good at it.
So, I know we've been talking about business, or the business side of fitness, but I would love to know about your own fitness journey, where you started from at first working with that firefighter to where you are now. Like, I know you also played hockey and you're a really, really good hockey athlete. Like, where were you then? Where are you now? I'd love to know about how your fitness journey has grown in tandem to your businesses.
Yeah. No, for sure. I've definitely been, I'll use the term athlete my whole life. And I do kind of say that a little loosely because, normal kid, right? I played soccer. Well, I think I started t-ball. I went to soccer and then baseball, and I got hit by a pitch one day and decided that really wasn't my jam. Um, you know, couldn't bat worth a damn. And so I decided, I really loved hockey. So I was a goalie. I played hockey. I would have known what I know today about fitness back when I was 10, 12, 14, 16. I think I probably would have, my journey would have continued, because even though I was like good on the ice, I wasn't great off the ice, in terms of my fitness foundation. But that kind of led me all the way through college. I gained the freshman 30 pounds, not 15, which led me into understanding, I came back home one day, and I came home for a Christmas break, the very first Christmas break, and I was wearing a shirt like this, a button-up shirt like this, and my buttons were like popping open when I came home. And someone made a comment to me about that, actually. Someone close to me made a comment.
That'll stay with you.
So that did stay with me. And I very quickly got back into the gym, did a lot of stuff myself. That really led me into a lifelong journey up till today with fitness and nutrition. For many, many years, it was all about fitness, about weights, I did HIIT training for quite a while. That kind of broke me for a little bit. Like we were talking about earlier, I went through the trend of doing that 5 days a week. It kind of killed me, to be honest with you. So I, in Chicago, actually, the gym's no longer there, but I left my gym to go to another gym to train, and it was all strength training. And that's where my love for weights came. I love lifting weights. For me, it's therapy mentally, but then, it's been my I feel good. I feel, even though I go through waves of, tired and exhaustion and stress and anxiety, like a lot of us do, I always come back to weights, right? So that's been it's kind of been my journey through that recently, and we'll chat about this. Is the older I get, I've always been relatively good with nutrition. Of course, when I opened up CrossFit, I did paleo for a long time. That kind of led into just clean eating for me. And I've been a really, clean eater since my, 25, 26 years old. And thank goodness I've been in fitness, because in my brain, I've always told myself I cannot be, and like, I can't be a fat trainer is actually words that I've told myself, right?
Same.
So, that's been a good thing for the most part, as saying like eating clean and eating healthy. But the older I get, I still focus on the weights, but a huge, huge piece of my life now is what goes into my mouth.
Before you moved to LA, you were working with a dietitian nutritionist on a bulk, and you were kind of just doing like a dirty bulk, right?
Yeah, it was. Oh gosh, it was so dirty. Now, knowing what I know now, it's so dirty. I was training with a trainer 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. One of the coolest people I know. His name's Joey. So we're really good friends today, working with him. And in 2020, I weighed in at about 178 pounds. I was always kind of a skinny, skinny lean dude, like I would call myself like skinny jacked. Like I had a pretty lean body at one point in time. I think my body fat was I think it was like 5.8 or 6 point something. It was pretty low, right? It was so it's pretty lean, but I wasn't bulky. I was just lean. And I'm 6 foot. So to be honest with you, I'd see photos of myself and I was never really proud of it because of the fact that I felt like I looked relatively skinny. And I have struggled the majority of my life with body image, and body dysmorphia. I'm gay, not to say that that heightens the level of that, but in the gay community, 100%, body image and what you see out there and how people react to you has been it was an issue with me for a while, for quite a while, up until I kind of hit my early 30s. So when the pandemic hit, I was 178 pounds. I got with my trainer and I said, I want to hit 200 pounds. Like I want to be a 200-pound dude. And that's exactly what we did. Got a dietitian and dirty food,
Dirty cool.
pizzas, and oh my God,
Yeah.
lots of pizza, a lot of like rice filled cheese and everything. My caloric intake was 4 to 5 thousand calories a day and
Yum.
make yourself sick, and so I was literally sitting there at night having pints of ice cream, and
Just to hit
the
the
pint,
calories. Yeah.
yeah, just to get the calories in. And dirty bulk. But in 2022, took a screenshot or took a photo of the in-body scale that we used, and definitely hit 200 pounds. Got all the way up to 216 pounds because when you're eating like that, I couldn't stop eating like that,
Yeah.
and that was a journey. So moving to LA, stress, anxiety took over. The food kept getting, bigger and bigger. And I got pretty thick, man,
Now you're lean
for
again.
sure. Yeah, thanks, and thanks to huge part to you. Yeah.
For a couple months now, Paul and I have been working together on nutrition, and he's been kicking ass.
It definitely, and to be honest with you, anybody thinking about working with nutritionists or getting support in this, it it made me really, I didn't realize I had this much of a problem asking for help, to be honest with you.
Mm,
I really didn't. And I had an experience, and I'm not going to dog any one person because I worked with two dietitians before this. And that's kind of what I had burnt in my head as my experience with that. So I was really, I don't know if I told you this or not, I was really apprehensive of working with you, and not because of you. But it goes back to the relationship that you and I built, that the time that you took to invest in me and a relationship with me. And it took me going to one of your seminars that you put on for me to actually be like, yo, this guy's different and knows what he's talking about. And you made it actually
appreciate
you
that.
made it scientific, but easy to follow. And I in that seminar, I wrote down on the pamphlet that you gave us, the slides you gave us, literally like how to count my calories and what I should be doing and my caloric intake. No one had ever told me about that before. And on paper, it's really easy. It's really
Yeah.
easy to calculate that stuff, right? The best part about working with you has been learning that it's okay, again, to ask for help as I'm getting close to 40, and admitting that, like, even though I'm in fitness, even though I own this stuff, I need help. I need to offload this onto you, to have you say to me, you should be doing this, you need to eat this. We have accountability with calls and with your communication, and a really clear objective that we want to get to, and how to get there. And the first like 30 or 45 days, I think I don't think, to be honest with you, I think I took kind of you for granted. I took the process for granted, of thinking like, oh, hey, it's just gonna naturally do itself. we had some tough conversations, right? And I appreciate that, because how many people are going to come to me and say, "Hey, Paul, you, this is what's showing up. This is what you're putting on paper. This is what you need to do in real life." Right.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot
it
of
took,
people have, I mean, to your point about like behaviors learned, emotions, I mean, food is so difficult because it's not like something that you can just cut out of your life.
Mhm.
There's a lot of behaviors and emotions that go into food, and behaviors take so long to change.
Yeah.
Habits take so long to change. And we are all fucking stubborn people.
Mhm.
So, yeah, generally, I mean, not to say you're not special, because you are special, but for most people, it takes a month or two
Mhm.
of them to be like, oh, all I have to do is this. And then they're like, oh, wait,
Mhm.
it's not just going to happen.
Yeah.
There's other behaviors and things that I need to address and look at before any of this fat loss, weight loss, muscle gain
Mhm.
goals happen.
Yeah. No, it definitely takes a minute. I definitely hit a point where I looked at something and I like, I'm not out to impress you. I'm not out to impress anybody actually, on anything, but when I'm looking at food and I have that thought of like, yo, I cannot look Noah in the face next week and not have changed my behavior. That's accountability, and that is
Yeah.
motivation. And then for us, 45 days into our journey together with nutrition, things really took off. Weight started to drop. And when weight started to drop and food started to change, we had a noticeable difference in my sleep, in my energy. And, I'll talk very, very frank. You and I talked about this, is my stress and my anxiety levels, right? And how much that affected my food, how much it affected my weight, and just everything, right? It was a snowball effect.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about working with you has been, again, your ability to build a relationship kind of built on trust, but then also apply I've never met anyone in our industry to this day, trainer and nutritionist, that comes with the wealth of knowledge, but not knowledge just out of a book. It's real life, practical experience knowledge that you've come with, in addition to your certifications and your book knowledge. From the time, and you've probably shared this with your listeners and people, is from the time when you're really young until today, from when you're teens till today, you have actual real life experience that you're able to share with me that helped my anxiety more than my therapist that
Wow.
I pay to talk to about anxiety, right? That is huge for me. So that's one of my favorite things about you, is like your real life practical experience that you apply to your work with nutrition with me, and probably many other places with a lot of people. So kudos to you for that.
I appreciate you saying that, man. I want to say, after I gave that seminar at Para, that one, the text you sent me afterwards was so sweet. You're like, I'm so proud of you. This is amazing. I learned so much. It really, really made my day. And I'm glad it's been such a great experience working together with your nutrition,
Yeah,
and saying all
thanks.
those sweet things. But you've been crushing it, man. Um, I also will give you props. Like, I have learned so much about running a business and building relationships and maintaining or providing a service that clients and future potential clients are going to love from you and Para and the brand that you've built. So I appreciate you allowing me to be witness to all that and being a part of it. Um, Speaking of which, all our listeners, if you have not had a chance to go to a class at Para or meet Paul or many of his other trainers that work at Para, I mean, regardless of whether you live in LA or Chicago, what is the easiest way for people to find out how to take a class at Para or work with a para trainer?
Yeah, again, we're always talking about relationship building, so just reach out to us. Go to our website, paraperformanceco.com. Go to our Instagram, wherever you find us. And reach out to us. That's one of my favorite things, is like people call us, people email every day, and don't expect like a typical response. Like, don't be like, oh, hey, here's a link, sign up. Again, our classes are kept really small. Our gyms are kept fairly small. When you come into our gym, whether it's me or somebody else, like we're gonna see your face. We're gonna know that you've never been there before because we know the faces. We're gonna get to know your name. We're gonna ask you, questions about what you do, blah blah blah. Ask you, what your fitness goals are. So yeah, head to our website, paraperformanceco.com, or find us wherever you can and message us and reach out.
Awesome. I will greatly encourage all of you guys that are listening to this to go check out a para location. If you are living in the LA area and you want to come say hi to Paul or myself at the Silver Lake location, please do so. It'd be great to see you and meet you. And I have not seen a single person leave a class at para without a smile on their face. Whether even during the class, I can tell you, some of them are having a great time, suffering in some capacity, but from how awesome the workout is. But they always leave with a smile on their face, which is because whether it's Paul or another trainer, they're standing at the door afterwards, congratulating them on their performance during the class, talking to them, catching up, just like their friends. So if you want a great customer fitness experience, highly encourage you to go check out one of the para performance locations. Paul, thank you so much for being on the Gut Reaction podcast and sharing your wealth of knowledge about business, fitness, and everything in between, and sharing your own personal experience. Like I said, check out Para Performance if you guys are in the area. Check them out at paraperformanceco.com. Paul, thank you so much, man. I'll probably see you at the gym tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, of course.
All right.